Don't adjust your cameras. You're not seeing twins. We just happen to be wearing the same shirt today or similar shirts. We're talking about short sales and foreclosures, and we want to talk about the legal aspects, legal guidance actually, on distressed properties. So I'm Evan Saint-Gerard, your real estate agent here in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, and I got my specialist. I'm going to let him introduce himself and how long he's been in the business. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thanks. So my name is Peter Goodman. I'm a partner in a firm called Berger, Fisher, Schumer, Wexler, and Goodman. I've been practicing law for 28 years. My background is in litigation and real estate, but I primarily do real estate now. I only mention that we do litigation because my firm does various different things. I had the real estate department. But when you are selling a property or buying a property, especially a distressed property, you need to have the right legal team in place, meaning you can't just have a real estate attorney and you can't just have a litigation attorney. You need to have someone that has the experience in the team for both, because those issues come up in both areas.
Well, while we're talking about this, because I know a lot of people think they know the definition, let's talk about what's the definition of a foreclosure and also a definition of a short sale.
Okay, so great question. So they're not the same thing, they just involve the same thing, right? So a short sale is simply when you own a property that the mortgage and all the expenses related to selling the property are more money than the value of the property. So it can happen in several ways. You have a property that is worth $700,000 and the mortgage has been paid in many years, and you owe the bank $800,000, or you owe the bank $750,000, but then you add the water sewer liens and you add the commissions and all the other expenses, the real estate transfer taxes, and it costs more money. You don't have enough money to sell the property because you're going to have to pay out of pocket. So that's considered a short sale. So what we do is we go to the bank and we say to the lender, listen, we owe $800,000. Will you take $700,000 to allow a seller to get out of this property, sell it, and not owe you anything afterwards? So that's traditionally a short sale. Most of the time they are in foreclosure. Once you go past 90 days of not paying your mortgage, you technically are in default, and the bank can start a foreclosure action. A foreclosure action is actually a lawsuit. So they're suing you in foreclosure, and ultimately they sue you, they get a judgment against you, meaning the bank, and then they sell the property at a foreclosure auction, and they get their money back. If they don't get all the money back, so same example, they sell the property is worth $700,000, you owe them $800,000. By the time you get through the foreclosure process, because you're paying the bank's legal fees and the penalties and interest and everything else, you may owe $900,000 by then. But you get to the foreclosure auction, the bank doesn't get all their money. Say they only get 700,000, and the house is and now that you owe them 900,000, the bank can get a deficiency judgment against you and go after you for the other 200,000. So that's why people always associate foreclosure and short sales together, because the vast majority of people that are selling their property are selling it because they're in foreclosure, and the amount of money that they owe now exceeds the amount that they're going to get at a sale.
All right, something I wanted to say basically to the audience: if you're in this situation, I know a lot of people are prideful, but basically, look, it happens to a lot of people for whatever reason. You might have lost a job. Someone passed away. The breadwinner basically passed away. Stuff happens. Life happens. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed. Just seek out help. Basically, if you want to take this burden off of you, you need to sell the house basically just to get it and start fresh. Reach out to somebody basically who specializes that. Reach out to an agent basically who specializes in short sales and foreclosures. Reach out to an attorney basically that's their specialty. That's what they do day in, day out. There are people that can help you with that. So what else did you want to say, Pete?
That's a great comment. I have a lot of times in my career, and I worked with a lot of not-for-profit housing organizations during the Great Recession. We actually had a grant from the Department of Housing and Community Renewal and worked with a lot of great not-for-profits. And during that time and up to today, I would counsel homeowners that were in distress, that couldn't pay their mortgage, that were in foreclosure, that were looking to potentially lose their home. And the problem was people, they are prideful. They grew up in the home or they raised their kids in the home. They don't want to leave. And, sometimes it becomes like a noose around your neck because you're living in this property and every day you're not paying the mortgage, your credit is getting worse, you're getting closer to foreclosure, and eventually you get to the point where you can't save the home and you're going to get physically removed from the home because they foreclose on the property, and now you're left with nothing except a judgment against you, which is even
And you still owe the money. And you still owe the money.
and so one of the things that we actually do in our office, my partners are bankruptcy attorneys. We do one of the largest bankruptcy attorneys in New York. And so we will have a consult with our clients. We'll talk to them about options. Sometimes if you have credit card debt, hospital bills, all those other issues that may have caused you to go into foreclosure in the first place, sometimes what happens is we can work out a plan for you where maybe we do a bankruptcy, we get rid of all the other debt, and then we short sale the house. And we work with maybe the trustee who works with your realtor to help you sell the house. And now you're out of debt. You're out of the house, so you don't have to worry about a foreclosure. And oftentimes it's not as bad as you think. Oftentimes you only need a couple of years before the FHA or some of the lenders will actually lend you money to buy a house again. And it doesn't that process won't start until you resolve that debt and you sell the house and you get out of foreclosure. So you're really just delaying the inevitable if you're in that position.
Again, I'm going to keep stressing this. You have problems, you have scenarios, reach out to the right professionals to help guide you. There are answers. It's not just only happening to you, it happens to a lot of people, unfortunately. And just seek out people who are going to guide you, give you the best advice possible for you and your family. And the key point I want to make is also listen to your professionals. If your professionals are telling you it's A and it's not B, then that's what you have to do is A. You can't fight reality. Reality is what it is.
Yep, it is, but it's the attorneys, just like realtors, we're in the service business and we're here to protect our clients. I have a fiduciary obligation to protect my client, give them the best advice I can legally. Obviously there are good people and bad people in every business, and experience counts as well. But it's really important that you find the right people, and it's really important that when you do find the right people, that you take their advice to heart. Because if we have the best, we want to make sure that we represent you and that we provide you with the best counsel. But like I said, I mean, I had this issue several times during the Great Recession where I would tell people I would even do sometimes a spreadsheet with them. I'd say, by selling the house now, you still have some equity left in the house, or by short selling the house now and getting out of this now, this is what can happen, and this is how it will benefit you in the future. And you don't want to wait until it's too late. And a significant amount of those people would say, "Look, thank you for the advice. I really can't sell my home. I just can't part with it." And then they would come back to me 3, 4 years later, and now the property was scheduled for an auction, and it was much less I could do for them at that point because of all the penalties and interest and the fact that the bank was less willing to negotiate with you at that point than they would have been if we just worked out the problem when we first discussed it.
You kind of mentioned this before. It's pretty much like when you go to the doctor and the doctor gives you a prescription and they tell you basically this is what the cause is and this is how we can fix it, and you don't take their advice, and then your situation gets worse and worse, and now you might have to come to amputations or whatever, and you're looking, hey, I need help, I need to get this fixed, and like it's too late now. It's like we gave you advice, we gave you our professional advice what you needed to do, and now we can't really help you with the situation because now it's just completely, the situation is rotted to its core and there's not much we can do. So definitely listen to your advice from your professional. Take the advice. Again, take the pride out of it. Stuff happens. Bad stuff happens to good people sometimes. Take the advice and you can always start over. You can always start over.
Yep. So the shorts. Let's talk about the short sale process for a second, so people understand what happens. You, as one of the differences between an actual foreclosure property and a short sale is that In a foreclosure property, the bank owns the property and they're selling it, or the bank's selling it at the courthouse steps because they've already completed foreclosure. In a short sale, you as a seller still own the property. So you still have the right to make the decision as to who to sell it to, what real estate agent to list it with, and what that process looks like. So you go to a realtor, they talk about the value of the property, you realize it's a short sale, or you already knew it was a short sale, and the bank is going to want to see, they're going to want to go over the numbers, they want to go over the finances, they're going to want to see that the property is valued at what we say it is. And look, if you're buying a short sale, you can usually get a short sale at a discount. You're not getting the short sale, not getting the property at 70% off of the fair market value, but it's distressed, so you're going to get it as a discount. But you need to understand it starts with listing the property, finding the best price you can, getting as close to fair market value as you can, going through the process of getting the approval from the lender. You want to make sure you know that you have the right people that can negotiate with the bank. And then when the bank approves it, you want to make sure that that approval says that the bank will take that, for example, before $700,000, they'll pay all the expenses. It doesn't usually cost you anything as a seller of a short sale. Usually the bank will pay all the fees, at least for the short sale portion. And the bank should give you a letter that says we will waive any deficiency judgment. After you pay us the $700,000 from selling the house, we'll pay all the expenses out of it. So the bank now, they're selling it for $700,000, or you're selling it for $700,000. Maybe the bank is netting $650,000 after they pay the commissions and they pay the attorney fees and any of the outstanding taxes and closing costs, and they're waiving any future deficiency. So you want to get that letter. You want to understand that generally you're going to have to leave the house. You cannot stay in the house after closing. So you need to be prepared to move. But another thing that people don't think about is short sales a little bit different. And it's not always a pleasant experience because you didn't want to sell the house, but you had to. And sometimes you may have said, okay, you know what, can't sell the house. I don't have, I can't pay out of pocket. You move out of state, you move somewhere else. House is vacant. You have to understand that, number one, if the house is vacant, you need to make sure someone's watching it. The last thing you want is someone to vandalize the house or break in, or the pipes to burst because it's not winterized. But also, if you're living in the house, you need to understand that you're going to have to move. So you want to have a plan to be out of the house. It takes, let's say it's going to take 60, 90, 120 days to go from contract to closing in a short sale, get the approval. You want to make sure that once that approval hits, you need to be out generally within around 30 days.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the conversations we definitely have with the sellers, regardless if it's a short sale or if it's just a regular sale. We have that conversation. What is your plan B once you put this house on the market? Are you buying? Are you renting? Are you staying with family members? Are you going to an Airbnb or a long stay place that you can stay at? We need to know basically what your plan is, and we need to have a plan A and plan B. In case plan A doesn't work, you have a plan B. We have to get you thinking along those lines. So basically, we're not caught by surprise that, let's say, look, stuff happens. We have family members. The plan was to go stay with your in-laws, and they didn't like your cake that you baked one day, basically, and you have a big fight, a big scuffle about that. And now you guys can't talk to each other. So now you have to seek other places to go to after that. So we need to always keep talking, keep having a dialogue with your real estate agent, with your attorney, and that way basically we can advise you the best we can. So we can always come up with different plans. So if option A doesn't work, we have option B and C. So always have that dialogue. I'm going to
Well, I
keep
will say
bringing
that's
that
pretty
up.
hard. If you have a fight with your family over the cake, that's a tough.
Family has been known to fight over the stupidest things, and like I'm going to say what it is. It's the stupidest things. When you think back about it, like we fought over what? I'm like, oh my god, this is why we're not talking to each other. Anyway,
Well,
to
so
bring it back to this conversation.
bringing it back for a second, here's a thing, and this has happened in my office a few times now. A lot of times people end up in short sales because of tenants. They had a mortgage. They had a family. The tenant rent was helping pay their mortgage, and the tenant stopped paying them, and that becomes a big problem. Tying that back to family, I've now twice had a short sale where my clients' tenants were their own children, and the children wouldn't leave and wouldn't pay them rent, and they ended up in foreclosure over that. And in both times, when I first spoke with my client, they said, "Oh, we're selling. I know he or she, my child, hasn't paid, but they said they're going to leave the house so we can sell. And it turned out that they wouldn't leave the house because they had nowhere else to go. And then we had to actually do an eviction of their own children. So that's when it's a little bit more serious than
Than the cake, yes. I'm glad you brought that up for the sellers. If you have tenants in the house, you're planning to put the house on the market. After you meet with your agent and you discuss you discuss with your whole family that this is the course that we have to do. We have to sell the house. We have to get this noose over our neck. Go have the conversation with your tenants. Let them know, no, basically, our plan is we're selling the home, so you might want to start looking for someplace else to go. There might be an off chance that the person that's buying the home might take it with the tenants, but with a short sale, most people who are buying the property, they're not looking for tenants inside the property. They want it free and clear. So have the conversation with your tenants. Let them know what your intentions are, and start planning for. They have to start planning as well, and you got to have a dialogue with them. There's been too many situations where I've been involved, and Peter can attest to this as well. The house is being sold, and the tenants were supposed to leave, but they're not leaving, and that's what's holding up the sale of the home. Whether it's family members who are tenants or people who are great tenants for a long time, now all of a sudden they're horrible tenants. You have to have the dialogue and always keep it professional with your tenants. You don't want to be caught in emotion, because when you get too emotional, things can go left real quick.
Absolutely. We can have a whole conversation about this, in all honesty, but
that's another video topic.
Another topic, but just as a very quick one to mention on the tenants is, you don't, number one, there are lots of laws about what you can and cannot do with tenants. There's also lots of laws about notice and when the tenant has to be out. And by having a tough tenant, if you're trying to sell the property, they might not even let people into the property to do a home inspection or to do an appraisal. So you can't even get to the point where you're selling the house. So this is maybe a topic for another time that you guys can tune into. But just be aware, like Evan said, tenants are a whole issue that you need to make sure you have it under control, especially if you're short selling your property.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the time, and I want to make sure. I know you got some stuff to do later on. I know you got a couple of appointments, and so do I. Let's wrap this up for the audience. What else do they need to know, and also give them your contact info?
Okay. So what they need to know is there's always a way out. If your property is in distress and you're not sure what to do, you just have to speak to the right people. There is always a resolution. Sometimes you have to pick out of the best of a bad lot, but the bottom line is, if you pick the right one, you're going to limit some of the damage, and you're going to be able to get yourself back on the feet. Every day is a new day. In order to reach my office, reach me, you can call or email. We have offices in New York City, in Brooklyn, and throughout Long Island as well. The phone number that you can reach for both offices is 516-747-1136. And the best email is RE, as in real estate, RE@bfslawfirm.com. That's B as in boy, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, lawfirm.com. And I look forward to talking to you in the near future.
I can't really top what he just said, but basically know that my whole team, myself, Evans, Dean, Tashana, we have dealt with short sales. We're all we have designations basically helping people with short sales. So if you need help, if you're in that situation, number one, don't be embarrassed. Take the pride out of it. You need help, we can help you with that. With that being said, whether you're in Queens, Long Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, anywhere in New York, you need help, give us a call. Let's have a conversation. Start with the conversation first, and let's talk it out and see how we can help you and your family get this noose around your neck and start fresh, basically. My contact number is 917-975-5985, and my website is mynyhomesales.com. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, I do not dance, YouTube, LinkedIn, pretty much all the social media platforms, we're on there. And if you have any comments, questions, or scenarios, feel free to reach out to us. Peter, you got the last words. Give them the words of encouragement, especially on a heavy topic like this.
Okay, well, just real quick, I just want to say our website also is www.bfslawfirm.com. B as in boy, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, lawfirm.com. The best thing I can tell you is, again, there is always a new day. So it's a distressed property. It's not the end of the world. but it is important that you sell the property before the property is foreclosed.